So first of all, let me say thank you very much for taking some time out of your busy day to join us here at Stack. I'm thrilled with the turnout. I'm very excited. We had so many people come out today for this. As far as the webinar itself, we do have a PowerPoint presentation. You'll find that located on the right-hand side under the handouts. You're welcome to download that and take that with you today. I will not be spending any time in the PowerPoint. I'm actually going to spend the entire webinar in the application, showing you the 5 different ways. The handout is a great little reference on the topics that we covered, and also made some screenshots with some little arrows pointing. So it's a great reminder of everything that we covered today. So I encourage you to take that with you. Also on the right-hand side, there's a little question section. I have Tom Zapp with us today. If you have any questions at all, Tom's part of our customer success team, has been with us for years. If you have any questions at all, feel free to chat your question into there and Tom can take a look. And I'll also be taking a look at the questions at the end of the webinar today. So enough of the opening statement there. Let's hop into the application. So if I hop in the Stack and I go into a project, so number 1 on our list of things to speed up your takeoff. This is what I commonly see. So whether I'm on a training with a customer or I'm working with a new customer, I see the naming scheme like this. So you upload a brand new project and they typically all have the same name. This one's actually not too bad. At least it says page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. Typically I see them all with the same name, which is less than helpful. So Stack actually does have a solution for this. So let me show you. So as for our navigation, right now we're on the Takeoff. I'm going to switch one over here to the Plans tab. Okay. To activate auto name, we need to go in on one of the plan pages, and it doesn't matter which one. You can choose any one in the set, as long as it's not the actual cover page. We just want to get to one that has the sheet number and the sheet name. So typically in the bottom right-hand corner, so I'm just using the scroll wheel on my mouse to zoom into this corner and using my mouse to pull this page around, just so that we can see the sheet number and in this case, the sheet name right there together. Now, if you take your mouse directly over to the left, there's a little gear wheel right here. If we click on the gear wheel, we can go down to auto name. Now we give you a little bit of text instruction up here, but it's really to do what I just did, which is to zoom down to that bottom right-hand corner. And what we're going to do is draw a rectangle around the sheet number here. So we'll click the little green draw button. I'm going to do one click here and I'm going to drag that across. So things to be careful of here. You don't want to draw your box really tight, just in case there's a longer sheet number down the line. So make your box big enough, but you also don't want to cross into any of the borders. So what we're telling the application is to go to this area on every sheet and pull that text forward. So the key is to a nice rectangle, big enough for future sheet names that may be longer, and try to avoid the barriers there. I'll double click there. If all you're looking for is the sheet number, you can hit start and off you go. The system will start. In this case, since the actual sheet name is right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab that as well. So I'm going to add the page title and I'm going to do the exact same workflow. So in this case, I'll go to draw. This is a nice big box, which makes me think there's probably some more text further down. So I'm actually going to start my box or my rectangle up here. So I'll do one click there, drag diagonally, double click there. When you're done, I'll also to point out, so this is left to right orientation. Sometimes the page name will be, bottom to top. You can change that orientation right there. We're left to right, so we're good to go here. I will hit start. And then this process will run in the background. You certainly do not have to wait on it. You can go ahead and start, finding your plans, do your takeoffs and so forth. This will run in the background and it'll tell you when it's complete. So while I'm on the Plans tab, if I click on Plans on our Plans folder, this will give me a list view of all the plans in the project. The overview is going to show us a little thumbnail image for every plan in the project. And we'll see the auto name is going to start to run through and change the names of these. And I may have missed that little start button because it actually should have been completed. So let me just quickly go through that one more time. Auto name, we're going to grab the sheet number. I'm going to grab the page title and draw a little rectangle. Off we go. So typically this takes 30 to 40 seconds to run through. And what we would normally be seeing is you would see them changing on the list view here. And it would also make the changes here on the overview. So although we're not able to see this at the moment, you would find this to be incredibly helpful. So it would give you the sheet numbers and the sheet names and a far more pleasant experience than just clicking around on the thumbnail images. All right, so we seem to have this not working at the moment. So let me see if I can find a project that I can actually show you this, because step 2 of our tips is actually dependent on this little auto name working. So let me hop into something else just for a moment. Oh, not much there. And still nothing happening there. We're off to a great start today, everybody. I believe this one will have some names in it. We're just going to hop into this little project. So if I go into plans, we can see that this has the sheet number and the sheet names. So this is something that I ran previously. So really the second step to this whole process is we have this search box. So if we notice up here, we can search by page title or we can search by page contents, okay? So there are 2 different searches and let me show you how they work. So by default, this little search box will search for the actual plan name here. So we can see a lot of these are called typical. If I type in the word typical up here and hit search, it's going to find me all those names, okay? That one's pretty straightforward. But say that we want to find an actual word on the page. So let's hop into a plan page here. Okay, so we'll try the word framing here. So the key is for content search. So if we're searching for words on the actual page, we're going to click on this little down arrow. We're going to go to plan content. And let me type in the word framing here. So this will do a couple of different things for us. It's going to search through every plan in the set, so it's not as responsive as the title search, but it does a couple of different things. So it's going to find all the pages that it found that word. Okay, so it looks like we have some structurals that are unnamed there. So every plan in the project that has the word framing, and it's also going to highlight each occurrence of that word on the plan. The other really cool thing this does is it filters the overview tab. So instead of showing every plan in the project right now, it's going to only show a thumbnail image for what we searched for. So this is a great way to kind of get rid of a lot of the clutter plans. So if you're looking for, the plumbing plans or the finish schedule, you can search for that, do all your takeoffs, and really kind of push away those 100 or so plans that you don't need. Let me find a little more of an obscure word and see if we can filter this down a little bit better. Bridge, let's do that. Again, that's going to spin for a little bit. It does search every single plan page. So we've, I guess the word bridge is still a pretty popular word. Again, that's going to filter down to make this much more easier workspace. And again, kind of get rid of all that clutter. So the goal here is that we're able to quickly find the plans that you want to do takeoffs on. So using auto name for one, and then following that up with either a title search or a content search, I think you'll find this is going to greatly help you reduce the time to find the plans that you actually need to read some information on or do your actual measurements on. Okay. Let's hop into the number 3 topic on the list, which is using our Takeoff template library. So let me clear that search so we can find something to actually measure on this plan. So that's not helpful. I'm in the structurals, that's why. Slab details, typical wall details, partition details. And let's go over to the project that we intended to work on today. So as you know, the steps for our process is to go ahead and create a takeoff. So we're going to create a takeoff, we're going to give it a name, and that's going to be whatever type of material that we're going to measure. We're going to choose the corresponding measurement type, add a description. We can go down and add an item assembly if we want to. Let's kind of do this out. So we're doing wall type 1. We set that up to be a linear. We can add a description. We can change our color. So the system's going to automatically pick a color for you. You can override that if you want. And you will go down and add an item assembly. So the really nice part of this is designed that you really only have to do that one time. So you can create these, set them up as templates, and use them over and over again for all of your future projects. So let's hop back out of there. And let's go find us something that we can do a wall on here. So the first thing we'll want to do is set the scale, just like normal here. So it looks like we're dealing with a 1/4 inch scale. Grab that 1/4 inch, and we can create this takeoff. So say that we are doing a wall type 1. Let me add an assembly here. And we'll just add some drywall just for an example. And again, this isn't a training on this. I'm just going to run through just so that you can see some examples of how this can really help you. So you can see a little clicky first time we're getting this set up. We're adding our assembly. We can say, you know, this is 8 feet. We're going to do 1 layer. We're going to do a 10% waste factor. My crew can do 120 square feet. If it was a 2-sided drywall, we would fill out this column here and say that we're going to do 4x8 type X. And we have 3 people on the crew, level 4 finish. And we'll say we do a 5-pound box. Awesome. So we're going to go through and draw. Again, 1 click to start, 1 click for every turn, and double click to finish. Boom. So what's really cool is you can set this up as a template. So say that you go to a brand new project and it's very normal for you to work on a wall type 1. What we would do is click on this. This will give us to our submenu, which has some pretty cool things, but we would want to add that to our library, okay? So if I delete this out and say, you know what, this is a brand new project, we just uploaded it, I can go to this little library tab, and this is searchable, so you'll see that my library is a bit messy here. I can type the word wall, and we can find that wall type 1 that I just created. All I have to do is click this little green arrow. Boom. It's going to remember the settings that I had last for the last time I used that assembly. So I can modify here if I want to say, you know, the height has changed on this project, or the type of drywall, or the crew, change anything you want. If everything remains the same, save, and then off we go. Much, much quicker. There we go. And all we did was click on that little green arrow. And this one actually segues into number 4, which is we can make a copy of this takeoff. So we drew this wall type 1, and we drew it as an 8-foot wall. So say that I'm in island 2 here, type FF, but as I'm working around the plan, the height of the wall may change. We don't have to create a new takeoff. We don't have to go through all the steps that we've just done. All we have to do is make a copy of it. So again, I'm going to click right on top of the name. I'm going to go to copy. And I'm going to give it a slightly different name. So I can say, you know what, that is our wall type 1, but I can say that this is a 10-foot wall section. Or I could have added that down here, you know, in the description box. Hit save. It's going to bring all of our assembly questions back up, and all I have to do, change that 8 to a 10, and then go draw. So the key here is really just kind of simplifying, setting this up. The more you use Stack, you'll find the faster it's going to be for you. So there we go. We've got our 2 different wall types. I can go into the report. I can see them on the measurement side. I can see my linear feet for both of those takeoffs. And I can hop in and also get a material report for both of those takeoffs. Again, copy takeoffs will save you a lot of time if you want to make, you know, little incremental changes to the materials that you're measuring. The last thing we're going to cover, or the last major topic that we're going to cover at least, is company level label groups. So let's find something that we can do an example here. And we can use this. So say that we're working on some elevations here. And this is broken down by the south, 2 souths, 3 south elevations, and a west elevation. So as you know with Stack, all the reports are going to show your data in your totality. So say that we want to differentiate between this south building and this west building. What we would normally do is build a label group. So I'm going to hop into my library here. I'm going to activate one of these takeoff templates. I thought I had created one. Corrugated. There we go. Oh, and I do need to set my scale. Looks like we're at 3/16. And there we go. So right down here, we can see in this label section where we can create a new label. So again, if I drew both of these buildings, the area to get the square footage, in the report section, it's going to give me the totality. We can create a label group to break that out. So our label group name is what we want to group by. So in this case, we're wanting to group by elevation. So we'll call this elevation. And then we're going to put drop-down menus for the groupings themselves. So we have a south elevation, and we have a west elevation. All right, so let's grab the west here. And I'm going to make these drawings fairly quick. Off we go. 1 click to start, 1 click for every turn. Pull this around, double click there. Now when we go up to the south, all I'm going to do is change my drop down to the south. Grab my little rectangle tool and pull this across. Okay, so in our report section, this is going to show everything in its totality. So here is our siding, here is our total square footages. But since we used grouping, we can actually show this by elevation. So elevation west, here's my square footage. Elevation south, here's my square footage. This works with any of the reports here. So if I just wanted a material list by elevation, I can certainly do that. So material breakdown for the west and the south, very, very helpful, okay? We do, while we're here, let me show you. We do have one default grouping within Stack that requires no setup at all, and that is by plan name. So if you want to group by plan name, there's nothing else extra you need to do within the software. You can go to grouping by plan name, and that is going to break it down by plan name. A quick little tip there for you. But the goal here is to show you how we don't have to create those label groups every time. So let me go in and delete that one out. So bye-bye there. If you typically work with elevations like north, south, east, west, or multi-buildings like building A, B, or C, or multi-floors in the first floor, second floor, third floor, you can actually set these label groups up in the company level, and then you can reuse them over and over again for all your future takeoffs, very similarly to how we did with the takeoff library. So underneath this little person icon in the upper right, we can go to your account and go to company settings. Right here in the middle are company level label groups. So these are ones that can be reused and over again. And we also give you a little bit of extra functionality here. So add group, that workflow is going to be the same. We can see that these are all the label groups that I have set up. So I could pull these into a project at any time. But what's nice about this is that you can make some changes. So here's elevations, north, south, east, west. I can control the order of the list. So if I wanted to move south up or move down, I can control the order like that, which is helpful. I can also edit. So say that I spelled the word incorrectly, I can go in and make the change. Or I can remove one of these. So all three of these functions you're not able to accomplish when you're building an in-project label group, which is an even more advantage to use these at the company level. So you would create these here and then use them within the project. Let's take a look. Okay, so let's go back into our same example of our elevation. There we go. So I would start my takeoff. What's cool about labels is you can use them before or after the fact with the drawing. So in the first case, what I did was I set the label and then drew each elevation view and it separated that way, but you don't have to. So let's go back into our siding takeoff. Right here is where we created the new label the first time. We can go into the library. This is going to show that same list that we were looking at up here in the upper right. I can click on elevations and that's going to pull that in. So it really kind of saves some time, especially if you're doing the same type of groupings over and over. Let's assign these after the fact here. So the first one was my south. I have this broken up into two different geometries, so we're going to use multi-select. My go-to-meeting panels are right in the way. Hold on there. I'm going to draw a rectangle around this that's going to highlight both of those geometries. I'm going to say, you know what? That goes into the south. And then I can use single select on this bottom one. Say, you know what? That one goes into the west. And there we go. We'll get the exact same result in the reports with a lot less of the time. So we'll see the exact same grouping that we were looking at. The nice part there is we didn't have to go through all those steps of creating or clicking to create all those drop-down menus. Can really, really, really save you time. So let's look at this kind of all together. So if we go back out to our projects, and I believe I was in this one. So let's just kind of take this from the top. So let me find something that resembles a floor plan here. Well, the first step is I would go in and auto name them. So I would go under the plans. I would click my little gear wheel. I would click into one of the plans here. I would draw a rectangle around the sheet number, boom, just like so. And then I would also grab the page title if I wanted to. So a nice big rectangle right through there, and then let the system run through auto name for us, okay? Next, that's going to give me the ability to search through the sheet titles here if we wanted to, or we can search for content. So let's see if we can find something that says a wall, which I think is going to find wall details. General notes, structural framing. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm just going to double click right on the name. It's going to take me into there. Step one is always set our scale. So this is a 1/16. Go into Takeoff. I'm just going to use my library and use that same wall type one that we use. So wall type one, it's going to find it. All I'm going to do is click the little green arrow. I can make any changes over here if I want to. If not, I am just ready to draw. So go down, hit save to save my settings, and there we go. And it's really that fast. If I wanted to add in, say this was a multi-building project, I could go into the library, pull in a building label group, and that would be all set up. So in this case, building 1, building 2. But the point here is that you can really make Stack work for you in an incredibly rapid pace. A couple other things I want to show you while I'm in here. So we had talked about using the search function to kind of filter out some of the unnecessary plans. You can also quickly delete them out. So say you get to a certain point and you don't need any of those anymore, you can hold down the shift key on your keyboard, select that one, scroll down to wherever you want, click view. That's going to select everything in between, and I can hit that little delete or that little trash can icon. That is a permanent delete, just so that you know that going in. And you can also use this to open certain ones. So as you're scanning through the project, we can say, you know what, I want to open that plan, and I want to open that plan, and I want to open this plan down here. Put little check marks there and use this little open. That's going to open them all up in tabs if I want. So you can certainly go in one by one, to make sure, hey, this is one that I want to view. Go back to the overview, look for a different thumbnail, or you can multi-select as you're working your way down. Again, using the search will help filter that to get you where you want to be a little quicker. I also wanted to touch on, if there's any general contractors out there, we have a beta version of an invite process. So this is not activated for most accounts. We're starting this out as a limited rollout, but if there are any GCs that would like to use the invite to be able to send out plans, not including the takeoffs, just the plans themselves to your subcontractors, just chat in and say, hey, I was on the webinar, I heard about the new invite beta, and I would like to be a part of that. We can quickly activate that on your account. So in wrapping up, the 5 key points that I wanted to talk about today: auto naming, that will become your friend very, very quickly. You can do either a title search, which is the default, or you can do a plan content search by toggling down the plan content. Highly recommend creating a takeoff library. So everything here can be reused for future projects. If you ever want to modify something within your library, all you do is click on it. You can edit if you want to change the name or the color, or you can delete it out. Again, the library is not going to affect any of your past projects. The library is only used for future projects. So if I deleted this out, it would not affect any of my past projects in any way. If you're working on something, you need to make a slight change to the name, or if you're using the Pro version, you need to make a slight change to the assembly itself. Just make a copy of it, give it a slightly different name, and a couple quick tweaks to your drop-down menus, and you're good to go. And then also, if you're going to be grouping your data, I highly recommend create those up here under the little person icon, under the accounts, go to your company settings, and create your label groups up here so that you don't have to project after project after project. While I'm on here, I have a long list of label groups here, but keep in mind that we're only able to filter by 2. So in the example that I showed you, we were sorting by elevation, which is great. So you could sort by, say, building and then floor, but you could not search by building, floor, and then room. So you can go 2 levels deep on the labels, which is incredible. And those are the 5 areas. Look at that. I'm right at 33 minutes, and I was trying to stay at 30 minutes. I'm going to open this up for questions at this time. Let me see if I can access our little questions pane here. Lots of questions. Great. I appreciate that. Pull this little guy out. What if you want to find the area, Randy? So we're going to set that as a square foot takeoff. So again, you're going to create your takeoff. You're going to give it the name, so whatever type of area, like in that case, I was looking at the elevation of a building. So set that as an area type takeoff, and then click your way around. That'll quickly give you the square footages. How do you edit or delete an option under a label group? Excellent, excellent question. So in my first scenario where I created the label group within the project, there is no way to edit or delete an option. So, and I'm notorious for bad spelling. If I'm creating an in-project label group and I spell something incorrectly, I'm either stuck with it with the project, or I'm going to delete that out and start over. So that's another great advantage of doing these up in the company settings. So you can go in and make edits like that. Okay. Can you switch different plan pages when using label grouping? I love that idea. Not currently. So we're going to use that for kind of grouping in the report section, but we do not have a way to zoom to it. Let me see if I can find a little tip though, since that's a great question. Let's hop back into the project that we were on. So a great way to find things is this little geometry report. So if I open this up, again, I can use label groups on any of these. So again, I can go in here and group by, oh, I didn't do it on this one. Well, that wasn't fair of me. But I can group by, just to show you. So here's plan name. What this report does is give us these little call outs right here, and that would zoom it into the page. So if I group this by elevation, it would show, okay, these are all part of my south elevation. I could see that I have 2 geometries here. I could click on one. It's going to zoom me to that page and then highlight that geometry for me. So the geometry report, again, is a great way to find things. Bid invite would be great. Appreciate that, Justin. We'll get that activated for you within the next hour or so. What can the sub do with the plans once he gets an invite? Excellent question. So if he's already a subscriber to Stack, he's going to go right in. If not, he is welcome to create a free account, and he can do a full takeoff with everything that I've shown you today. There are a couple restrictions, that it is a free product. He would not be able to export his data to Excel, and he would not be able to print any of the plans to PDF. But other than that, he can go and do a takeoff and get all of his numbers for free. That's what we're here for. Hey, Hamid, can you show us how to do faster counts on mechanical drawings? I love these questions, guys. So let me see if I can find something with that looks like a symbol. All right, this is not best case, but we're going to use it. Actually, let's see if we can find something a little bit better. So I had like completely prepared for this using a different set of plans. So we're winging it a little bit here. And we may go back up and just use that same example. Let's see what's here. So counts. We actually have an auto count. So say that, and it works better with symbols. This is not going to be a great example, so I don't expect it to come back with great results, but I at least want to show you the workflow. So say that you are counting, you know, fire alarms. And there's my spelling. We're going to set that up. Oh my goodness, I misspelled it twice. I can set that up as a count. I can start my takeoff, and the default is going to be I can go do a manual count on all of these symbols, okay? But we can also have Stack do the counting for us. So if I go into here to auto count, all I'm going to do is draw a little rectangle, and Stack is going to go and put a count symbol in all of those that it finds for the plan page. So it's not going to do that for the entire project. You would do that plan page by plan page. But if you were doing hundreds of counts, you would not believe how much this would save you time. And we have people doing thousands. So I found 22 on this page. Granted, I wasn't using a real symbol. I'm just using a shaded box, which is a different size. And this one has like a cross through it as opposed to that one. I think you'll be really happy with those results. And then if you want to reactivate for anything that was missed, just click to restart that and go do some manual tap or manual clicks for anything that was missed. But highly recommend that you try auto count. I think that you'll be very, very pleased with it. How many label groups can we add per project? Great, we can add 2. Okay, so you can think of 2 levels deep. So I can go by building, by room, but 2 levels deep. What is the difference between the share and invite features? Excellent question. They're really kind of opposites, okay? So I've done this little project with, you know, a few counts and some wall type ones. What I could do is share this. All I would do is turn that on. I would copy this link, paste it into an email, and then I could email this to you, Hamid, and you would get a read-only version of the project. So you would not be able to do a takeoff on the project. This section of the software would be gone. You would only see the plans where you can see the takeoffs, you can see the markups, you can see any notes that were left on the plan, and you can access the reports, okay? So sharing is about sharing your completed work, kind of think of it like that. Invite, which looks very similar in functionality, is going to be copying and pasting this link to send these blank plans to someone so that they can do a takeoff. Again, they do not need to be a paid subscriber to do so. They can do a free account. How do I change the color of the job name on the calendar? Excellent question. So we do that with statuses. So if I go back to the big calendar, and you can see mine is nice and colorful, but so this one is kind of our default. So as you're creating a project, your project name, your bid date, and you can select your status, and your status is what's going to control the color over here. So each status has a different color, and you can do this as you're uploading. So I could say, you know what, I'm bidding this project, upload it, and then come back and change the status. You know, we won the project's on hold, and that will change the color. You can also do this after the fact. So I can say this project here, I'm going to click on this little edit pencil where it says not set. I can change that to 1, hit update, and it's going to change that to a nice green color. Another really, really cool thing about statuses is they're also searchable. So if I want to know all of everything I've won, I can click on 1 and search, and it'll give me a list view of everything that I've won. So status is a really awesome thing, not only a great visual representation for your month, but it also gives you the searchability there. For electric format for plans. Oh, great question. So actually we accept everything except, I tried to highlight DWG and it didn't work, Chris. So you can upload a PDF, a TIFF file, a GIF, a PNG, any type of image file. So if you're getting something out of Google Earth, that's a PNG file. We can upload pretty much everything except a DWG. So an actual CAD file itself, we cannot. So a CAD file would need to be converted to a TIFF or PDF prior to upload. If I already drew a takeoff, how can I change it to another thing without deleting? You know what? That is an awesome feature request right now. At the moment, you cannot. So you would actually want to delete that and start over. So you can go in and delete the actual geometry, but I think where you're going is in most cases, you want to say, you know, my wall type 1 is really something different. Now, if it's just the name change, I can go to edit and say, you know what, I meant that to be wall type 2. That will change for all the geometries that you've drawn, all your measurements, but you cannot change the measurement type itself. So in that case, unfortunately, you would be looking at a delete and start over. But I appreciate that as a feature request. Will there be a time when you're able to email pages from Stack? Yes, there was, Joe. Excellent question, and that is something that we're working on. I believe you will see that this year. I would also like to be part of the bid invite. Ryan, appreciate that very much. We will get you connected on that. Thoughts on organizing takeoffs by color? Good question. So in today's world, I see people group by naming schemes. So say that I was going to do something with a wall. I would put the word wall and then colon. So that way it's going to group everything, you know, in this list, because right now it does it alphabetical. So you could have all your wall types going together, grouped. You could change the color, you know, so all my wall types were blue. I see people do that a lot with plumbing. So, you know, the cold water is blue, hot water is red, that type of thing. Something that you're going to see with us in the next couple months is actual categories that you can group these into categories, and I think that'll solve that issue for you. Invite. All right, Rick, thank you very much. Or is there a new feature to draw circles and arcs and also measuring this? Great question, David. So at the moment, it is clicky. So, but you'll find that it's incredibly accurate. So if we go back to the same plan page or any of these plan pages that we've been on, you're just going to click around to form your own radius, which sounds worse than it actually is. I think I'm covering my scale box here. So that is a 1/8 scale. And say that we're doing a radius, I'm just going to kind of click around. So I'm just doing a lot of little clicks to create my own radius, okay? So that's how you would do it in today's world. We do have a feature request log for like an arc tool, but currently is not scheduled, okay? Little do page, thank you. And it worked partially, Renee. Hey, we can give you a call and see if we can work through that together. Can you change the default symbol and color on takeoff items? Absolutely. So my wall type 1, or actually let's go into fire alarms here since that's an actual account. It would work the same. So I can go to edit here. It picked this nice pretty pink color. I can change that to any color here that I would like. I can also go into custom colors, you know, pick almost any shade that you could possibly imagine. If you're doing an actual count, you can also change the symbol. So check marks, circles, crosses, squares, triangles, and then different sizes of each. So once you make the change here, it's going to immediately make that change over on the plan page for you. Can I run a report for the sub if he does a takeoff using an invite? You're not able to run a report because think of it as you're sharing the plans with him and he would have a separate account. But a great thing for him to do would be to use the share function and then share his work back to you. So he would complete his takeoff, click on share, copy that little link, paste that link into an email, and then you would be able to see the work that he's done. Do we have assemblies in metric? Thanks, Hamid. No, we do not currently. You're able to do items in metric as a default. All of our assemblies default to imperial. You can go in, it's line by line, but it can be done where actually build that metric conversion into the formula editor, and we'd be happy to do a screen share and show you how to do that. You have a really long plan number, Renee. Yeah, try and see. So that would be a great one for me to see actually for our future growth. And we're making the green rectangle around, okay. Requested, okay, thanks, Rick. Can you have multiple scales on the same page? Absolutely. So let's hop into a plan page. Let's see if we can find something with the section view. Actually, we'll hop on here. So say that I am working on this detail. We have to use our imaginations a little bit and say that this is a 1 inch. So what I would do is set my scale to a 1:1. I would do the takeoff for this section and then go over to the next area that you want to measure. It looks like there, here's a good one. And then I can change this to a 3/4 scale. So yes, you can have multiple scales on the same plan page. Awesome, thank you, Nathan. Plumbing, yeah, so plumbing is going to be the same kind of workflow. You'll go in and create a takeoff, say that you're doing a takeoff for 3.5 inch PVC. Your takeoff name would be 3.5 inch PVC, or more descriptive if you like. Set that up as a linear. You can add a further description, and then you'll do one click to start, and then follow that water line around the plan. And then you'll create a new takeoff for each of your different plumbing sizes there. So say you're doing a 3.5 and you've got a 2 inch line or a 4 inch line, you'll just create a new takeoff for each of those different lines. Bill, hey, I haven't talked to you for a while. Good to see you on here. But I have to rerun it every time. Yeah, you sure do, Bill. I'll chat you about that. Thanks for the smiley. All right, we have a few more minutes. The webinar will unfortunately kind of shut down on itself as we run out of time. So it won't be me ending, but it will end on itself. So if there's any last minute questions, or if anyone wants to type in anything that they would want me to re-show on anything that I covered today. Also, please remember to grab that handout before you leave. Fear not if you don't, though. We're going to send you that handout along with some additional material later this week. Once again, I want to sincerely thank you. I know how busy everyone's schedules are, and the fact that we had such a great turnout today really means a lot to me. So thank you very, very much for your time today. All right, guys, we'll give this 2 more minutes for any of the last minute questions. Feel free to type right in there. Still waiting for, Renee. We'll give you a call. We'll get you started there. When doing label groups like electrical, can I make a template that does all of the different types? Okay, so that's an interesting question. So you can. Here's going to be the disadvantage. So there's advantages and there's disadvantages to that. Let me show you really quickly. So the advantage will be is kind of what you were thinking. Instead of creating a new takeoff for each kind, so you don't have like a long list of takeoffs, you can create one takeoff and then just use the drop down. The problem there is it's not going to give you a color differentiation. So if we go in here and we are using, building 1 and building 2, and you would have a much longer list than this, they will all stay at that same takeoff color. So in this case, it would be blue from our wall type 1. So you wouldn't see a color differentiation. And that's also unfortunate. So if you wanted to add a plan legend, which is right over here, you can draw a rectangle and add a plan legend, which would be a color-coded plan legend. You would lose that ability as well. So I totally understand your question. I know people that do that. And it'll really come down to a preference. I would try both ways and see which way you prefer. Okay. So like one of my label groups I had was for pipe, and one was PVC and copper and galvanized. So it will totally work. You lose a little bit, but you may gain in speed. So I think that'll come down to a individual decision for you. That session is recorded. Yes, we will be sending that to you. You were distracted during a call, no worries. I totally expect that. So yeah, we will be sending out a copy of this recording later this week. A trial program there is not, but we have a free version. So you can do 2 projects within a 7-day period. Identify if that's something that you really love, and we hope that you do, and then become a subscriber with us. Yes, for the video, Holly, we sure will. Appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. Would you do a takeoff for daily cleaning? Sarah, you can come to my house and do a daily cleaning. Thank you. Sarah works for us here at Stack. If you have 3 phases in a project, how can I split it up into 3 phases? Excellent. So what we're going to do is use label groups for that. We're going to create a label group called phases. So there, again, if this is something common for you, I would create it up in company settings. And then we're just going to create a drop down for each of our phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, how many phases you have. And then you can either do before or after the fact. Personally, I think for phases, it's easier for me to do it after the fact. So I would go in and do all my drawings on the plan page, and then go back after the fact and use multi-select and say I wanted to, grab this entire quadrant down here, multi-select that entire quadrant and drop that into phase 1. But that'll work perfectly for you. I think you'll be very happy with that. Oh, hey, Rick. It came up as Sarah. I'm sorry. I thought she was playing a joke on me. But yeah, you can schedule. We have a lot of cleaning companies that go in and do square footages for flooring and so forth. A lot of people do their estimates for cleaning services. We have plenty of customers that are doing that today. And thank you for clearing that up. I'll be sure not to give Sarah as big of a hard time as I was going to. All right, guys, we'll leave this open for another minute. Any last minute questions for me? Bill, thanks. Hey, I'll chat you in a little bit about that reports. All right, everyone, I want to again give you a very, very sincere thank you. I know how difficult it is to arrange time in your daily schedules. I'm absolutely thrilled with the turnout today. I hope this was of assistance. We love you here at Stack. We appreciate your business, appreciate you as customers, and you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much.